The Declaration of Independence. It is probably one of the most famous documents on earth. So what is the Declaration of Independence exactly, and why is it so instrumental to American history? First, let's talk about what it is not. Contrary to popular belief, the Declaration of Independence is not part of the Constitution. Rather, the Declaration of Independence is a standalone document that was signed in 1776 and predates the Constitution, which was ratified in 1788. Now, let's talk about what the Declaration of Independence is. In brief, the Declaration of Independence expresses the ideals on which the United States was founded and the reasons for its separation from Great Britain. The Declaration of Independence was the first formal statement by a nation's people asserting their right to choose their own government. The final declaration was ratified on July 4th in 1776. July 4th is now known as Independence Day and famously celebrated in America every year with great fanfare. However, did you know that it wasn't until almost a month later, on August 2nd, 1776, that all 56 members of Congress had signed? This was a radical move by each signatory of the Declaration, as signing this document would be a death warrant, as they would be seen as traitors by the King of England. Why did America need the Declaration of Independence in the first place? To understand this, we have to go back to a time when the British colonized America and created 13 colonies that would be under the rule of the British Royal Crown. The colonists of the 13 colonies became disillusioned by British rule when they were not afforded the same rights as other citizens of the British Empire, which were guaranteed to them by agreements with the British Crown, such as the Magna Carta, dating back to 1215. When the colonists petitioned the King of England to remedy their grievances, they were rebuffed. Tensions increased as British sent a small force in Boston in 1775 to seize control of local weapons depot, where the British force was ambushed by local American militia, aka a citizen army, at the battles of Lexington and Concord on April 19, 1775. As a result of these events, each of the 13 original colonies sent representatives to Philadelphia to meet and discuss what they viewed as British aggression on May 10, 1775. During this meeting, the representatives drafted a document outlining their specific 27 grievances to the King of England and included context for each grievance based on a popular theory at that time that humans have natural rights, popularly known as inalienable rights. The Declaration begins with the outlining of such rights. Quote, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." End quote. These three rights stated are called natural rights, put forth by English philosopher John Locke. He believed that all men were created equal as persons and have these basic rights which cannot be taken away by any earthly power. Prior to the Age of Enlightenment, it was common thinking that individuals were not born with any rights except those bestowed to them by their king or government. On the other hand, the Declaration of Independence sets forth the rights to, number 1, life. Everyone is their own person and has full claim on their own life and labor. Number 2, liberty. Everyone has the freedom to act in a way they decide without needing permission from any other earthly power. 3, property, or the pursuit of happiness. Everyone has the ability to own property without the consent of others or being provided any such property by the government. The Declaration of Independence goes on to say that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, It is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. What this means is that since men are all created equally, no human being is considered inherently greater than any other. Therefore, the only way to be governed by a common government is through the consent of the people in pursuit of the greater good. When such good no longer exists, the people have the right to abolish the government and start a new one that meets these goals. While all of this may seem obvious now, 400 years ago, these ideas were considered radical. Even the Declaration of Independence is not a governing document like the Constitution. The Declaration outlines the basic rights of people. The spirit of the Declaration of Independence is eventually echoed by the United States Constitution and provides the basis for what makes us Americans today. These rights have been fought for by generations, and our recognition of these rights is a hallmark of American influence today.